Hello, welcome to today's class. In today's class, we'll be talking about cache memory. This is the agenda for today's class. First, we will be talking about the performance gap that exists between processor and main memory, and we'll see why cache memory is needed. Then we'll talk about the memory hierarchy, um, and we'll see where the cache memory fits in this memory hierarchy. Then we'll talk about what cache memory is. We'll look at how a read operation looks like when cache memory is present. Then we'll look at some terms associated with cache memory. Then we'll discuss why cache memory concept works. We'll look at what's a concept called locality of reference. So let us first look at the gap that exists between the performance of CPU and dynamic RAM. As can be seen in this diagram, the performance of CPU has been increasing at the rate of about 60% every year, whereas the performance of memory has been increasing only at the rate of 10% every year. What happened is this led to a gap in the performance of CPU and memory. Memory became a bottleneck for the system performance. The CPU could have executed at a much faster speed, but the slowness of the memory was holding back the overall performance of the system. So how to solve this gap, performance gap between CPU and main memory? So that's where cache memory comes in. As I have already said, CPU is much faster, whereas main memory is slow. So in between CPU and cache memory, a memory called cache memory is introduced. Cache memory is small amount of memory, but it is faster memory. Typically, for main memory, dynamic RAM is used. Dynamic RAM needs periodic refresh, which makes it slow, whereas static RAM is used to build cache memory. Static RAM do not need dynamic refresh, so that's why static RAM is faster. But static RAM is expensive, so if you want to build a whole system using static RAM, the cost of the system will be more. That's why in a typical system we have both dynamic RAM and also static RAM. Now your cache memory can be present within the CPU chip itself, and actually 80486 was the first microprocessor to include cache memory inside the CPU chip itself. Or your cache memory can be outside the CPU chip also. Let us look at the memory hierarchy. As can be seen from the diagram, at the lowest level we have permanent storage. Permanent storage can be disk or magnetic tape. The data stored in the permanent storage will not be lost even if the power is switched off. Next comes your main memory. Main memory is temporary storage, and data will be lost if the power is switched off. Then comes your cache memory. For cache memory, there can be different levels like layer 1 cache, layer 2 cache, layer 3 cache. In this particular diagram, layer 1 cache is present within the CPU chip itself, whereas layer 2 and layer 3 cache is outside the CPU chip. Then comes the registers. As can be seen in the diagram, speed of the memory increases as we move up the hierarchy. So the speed of the registers is the highest, followed by cache. Main memory speed is faster than permanent storage, but is slower than cache memory. As we move down the hierarchy, the size of the memory increases. So the size of the cache memory is larger than registers, but is smaller than main memory. And main memory size is smaller than permanent storage, but is larger than cache memory. Also, as we move down the hierarchy, the cost per bit decreases. Now let us look at how a typical read operation looks like when cache memory is present. As shown in the diagram, if the CPU wants to read from a particular address, the cache controller will first check whether that particular address is present in the cache or not. If the address is present in cache, it's called cache hit. In that case, we will read the data from the cache memory itself. When we find the data in the cache memory itself, it will lead to improvement in the performance of the system, because read from cache memory will take less time. If the data is not present in a cache memory, it is called cache miss. In that case, we have to go and read the data from main memory. So your data is not present in a cache memory, so we have to read it from the main memory. Now when we go to the main memory, two things will happen. The first thing is the whole block containing that particular memory address will be copied from main memory to the cache memory. So what do we mean by the memory block? Actually what happens is that main memory is divided into some fixed size blocks. For example, let us say that block size is 16 bytes, and now CPU wants to read from memory address 0. Let's say address 0 is not present in the cache memory, so you have to go and read it from the main memory. Now when you go to the main memory, the first thing, one thing that will happen is that the whole block will be copied from main memory to cache memory. That means address 0 up to address 15, the size of the memory block was 16 bytes, so address 0 up to address 15, all the memory address 16 memory address will be copied from main memory to the cache memory. Now to store those 16 bytes, I have to first allocate some space in the cache memory. So first thing that will be done is allocate some a cache line to store the main memory block. Then we'll copy the main memory block from main memory to the cache memory, and the data requested from address 0 will also be sent to the CPU. So this is how a typical read operation happens when cache memory is present. But how can we say that the presence of cache memory will lead to improvement in the performance of the system? To explain that point, let us consider two memory access pattern, pattern 1 and pattern 2. In pattern 1, we first access a memory address 0, followed by address 1, address 2, 3, and so on. In pattern 2, we access memory address 0, followed by address 100, followed by address 200, and so on. Now let us see what will happen in case of pattern 1. We try to access memory address 0, and let's say address 0 is not present in the cache memory, so we have to go to the main memory to read address 0. So when we go to the main memory, two things will happen. First, we will copy the whole block from main memory to cache memory. So memory address 0 up to 15, all the 16 bytes will be copied from main memory to the cache memory, and also the value stored in address 0 will be sent to the CPU. So the next time we try to access address 1, address 1 will be available in cache memory itself, because all the 16 bytes was copied from main memory to cache memory. So also for address 2, 3, and so on. So there was a cache miss for memory access when you try to access memory address 0, but for the remaining 15 memory address, we will find it in the cache memory itself. So the next 15 memory read will happen faster, which will lead to improvement in the performance of the system. Now let us consider second memory access pattern. Here we access memory address 0 first. Let's say address 0 is not present in cache memory, so we go to the main memory, read it, copy the whole block from main memory to cache memory. But next time I am accessing address 100, so we have not copied memory address 100 from main memory to the cache memory yet. We copied only address 0 up to address 15. So there will be a cache miss for address 100 also. So when we try to read memory address 100, we again have to go to the main memory. We'll copy the whole block which contains memory address 100 from main memory to the cache memory. The next time we access memory address 200, again we have not copied 200 to the cache memory yet, so again we have to go to the main memory. So each of these memory access there is a cache miss. So what we see is that for memory access pattern 2, although we have a cache memory present, it will not lead to improvement in the performance of the system, because for every memory access we are going to the main memory, whereas in case of memory access pattern, the presence of cache memory leads to improvement in the performance of the system. So now what is it that guarantees that our memory access pattern will be of type pattern 1 and not of pattern 2? So there is something called locality of reference. Locality of reference states that a program tends to access a relatively small region of memory irrespective of its actual memory footprint in any given interval of time. What we can conclude from this statement is that future memory access are near past memory access. So what this means is that if I access memory address 0, then it's most likely that I will be accessing memory address 1, 2 or other memory address which is nearby to address 0 in the near future. And that happens because of locality, because there are two types of locality of reference. One is called temporal locality, one is called spatial locality. Temporal locality means if we access a particular address, it's high likely that after some point of time we will be accessing the same memory address again, and that typically happens due to the presence of loops in a program. And what spatial locality of reference states is that if I access a particular memory address, then it's very high likely that I will be accessing other memory address close to that address in the near future. To explain that point, let us say I access memory address 0, then it's most likely that I will be accessing 1, 2 or 3 addresses, 1, 2 or 3 or other addresses nearby to 0 in the near future. That's because programs are executed in a sequential fashion. Now let us look at this memory access pattern. Here we access memory address 1 followed by 2, 3 and so on. So this is an example of spatial locality of reference. Once I access address 1, then it's very high likely that I will be accessing 2, 3 or 4 which are nearby address 1, and that happens because we execute programs in a sequential fashion. Now let us look at this other pattern here, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then again I access 5, 6, 7, 8 and again 5, 6, 7, 8. So what is happening here is that once I access memory address 5, after some point of time I am accessing 5 again. So this is example of temporal locality of reference. This may be happening due to the presence of a loop in the program. So what we can conclude is that due to locality of reference, our memory access is not as random as seen in pattern 2. Our memory access will follow something similar to pattern 1. That happens because of locality of reference. And since I have already explained, if our memory access pattern is of this type, then presence of cache memory leads to improvement in the performance of the system. Now let us look at some terms associated with cache memory. So these are some terms associated with cache memory. I'll go through them in more details in the next class because we are short of time. There are some other terms here, and in the next class we'll also talk about mapping methods, page replacement algorithms and write policies. And to summarize today's class, we talked about what cache memory is, we saw where it fits in the memory hierarchy, then we looked at the concept of locality of reference. Okay, thank you for listening. We will meet again in the next class.